Hi, yes, I am Emily Gladstone Cole, and I'm here to talk about SOC 2, that is the compliance and not security operations center, and mindfulness. Before I get started though, I'd like to thank Leslie for coming up with the idea of PancakesCon and making it happen 3 times now. So amazing. And all of the support staff, including the AV team, who spent time with us, making us all look good. And Bryson for being our MC here and wearing a stack of pancakes. That is, you got it. Are we good?
You're good.
All right, there we go. There's my actual slides. Awesome. So the obligatory bio slide. I've worn a lot of hats over my career. I started out as Unix sysadmin after I got a degree in French and genetics. And I've supported a bunch of different Unix variants and Linux and FreeBSD. And then I spent some time doing operations incidents, and then I jumped over to security incident response. And I've also done security research and a bunch of security engineering. I've worked with a few companies that as they are preparing for SOC 2, and I have opinions about how many companies do SOC 2. Real quick promo before I forget, if you're a woman who's interested in getting some amazing free training, the next SANS Academy for Women opens its applications on March 7th. These academies give you access to free SANS classes, which are otherwise extremely expensive. I don't get any kickbacks for mentioning this, but it's been a great opportunity for a bunch of people. So think about it, check it out, maybe. I do love cats. I'm only going to show one slide of my cat. This guy, this adorable nuisance, will be 20 years old next month. He wants attention when he wants it, often at 4 a.m. Sometimes when I'm leading a meeting and sharing slides. I hope he won't do that today. I kind of left him put down for his afternoon nap, but fingers crossed. The pancakes, my personal pancake of preference is potato latkes, and I do prefer them with applesauce, but hey, if you like sour cream instead, that's just fine too. So on with it. SOC 2, and I realized that I defined SOC 2 on the next slide. System and organization controls. It used to be service organization controls. So before we get too far into security operations, it's a tool for the sales team to use to sell your company's product. It doesn't require extensive security efforts, but it is an easy way for companies to say that they will do at least a minimum to secure themselves and protect their customers' data, which is really important to sales. It also does have a reputation of being kind of a starter cert. The requirements are much less strict than FedRAMP. And if you're not handling sensitive data like credit cards or health information, and if you don't have to, you can stay away from the more demanding certs. Just stick with SOC 2. I'm not altogether convinced that people pay a lot of attention to what's in the SOC 2 reports, but really it's good for your sales team to have one. And as a former current security engineer, it cuts down a lot on the number of security questionnaires that I have to put time into working on, and that is a huge, huge plus. So, okay, as we said, yes. System and organization controls. It comes from an auditing organization. Auditors and CPAs are the ones who put together this standard, and they will be the ones who are going to work with you to issue your report. SOC 2 is about complying with the auditors and what they want to see, rather than necessarily demonstrating a strong degree of security in your systems. Just a note, SOC 1 is all about the finances. SOC 2 is what we're talking about. This is why it's SOC 2 is about the security. There is also a SOC 3, but I've never heard anybody actually care about what that does. So we're skipping that. Last point, SOC 2 it really is about compliance. It's not about bringing this brand new security stuff into your organization. Some key vocabulary. Did I just skip it? No, I didn't. Okay. So trust services criteria. This was formerly called trust principles. These are the 5 areas you can get certified in. I'll get more into that in a bit. Policies, you definitely need to have some policies that define how your company does at least some amount of basic security and compliance tasks. They don't have to be very specific, these policies. Control items are individual things that you have to complete in order to meet those trust services criteria. So we're SOC 2 here. SOC 2 type 1 is a report of how your company's security is at a specific point in time. A type 2 report is, yeah, we know how you say it's done over a point in time. It's also true over a monitoring period, a control period where we've audited your company's actions. Your auditor, as I'm getting there, you have to have one. It's a CPA, it's not a security person. So they're not going to be getting into, oh, well, you have to use this algorithm to secure your, that's available in your code. You have to use these on your website. You're not going to be getting into detailed security discussions with them. So these trust services criteria, as I said, trust principles. Each of these criteria will add a bunch of additional items beyond the security one. It's the pillar here. You are always going to do, when you do your SOC 2 certification, you are always going to have the security requirement. It's called the common criteria. And security is mostly about access control, that pillar, controlling access to information. How do people get access to your production environment, et cetera, et cetera. There are some other things. Availability, it's kind of like it says on the tin, are the systems available? How do you monitor for uptime? Processing integrity. This is how do you confirm that what you've done is complete, that you know that you haven't had any errors slip in the processing of whatever data you take in, and make sure that it's done in a timely manner. Confidentiality, different from privacy. Confidentiality is about protecting the information that you take in, the information that your customers give you, or the information that you get from processing whatever your data is. Privacy, on the other hand, is much more stringent. It's about how you handle personal information that comes in. Strongly recommend you don't get into the privacy stuff unless you have a privacy officer and you're going to get really serious about customer privacy and data privacy. So it's keep that in mind. As I said, each one of these will add a certain number of additional control items that you need to demonstrate that you can do when you're going through with your auditor. All right, so the TLDR version. This is the quick and easy. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Not saying that any of these individual steps are necessarily simple, but what it boils down to is you have to pick what trust services criteria you're going to do. Start with security if you don't need to demonstrate any of the others. Do all the things that are required in the various control items for those criteria. And then write your policies and processes that match what you do. Once again, they don't need to be super, super detailed. You just need to be able to show that what you're doing matches what your policy says. You pick your auditor and then the audit. Woohoo. There are some tools that you can't, right, sorry, wrong transition. So SOC 2 is about compliance and not security, but you can get some security in there. Aside from cutting down on those horrible security questionnaires, which would be an entire talk in and of themselves, there are a bunch of other benefits. As a security person, I'd rather not spend a lot of time making sure that Johnny has access to the marketing drive or that Jane has access to GitHub. And I don't want to spend a lot of time proving to my auditors. So things that you can do that are good for security that are also really good for the SOC 2 is get yourself set up with single sign-on. Pick a vendor, integrate them in with everything. Then you've got onboarding and offboarding at the push of a button, and you can prove that you do it. And that's really going to make everybody happy at the company. Centralized logging, you're going to need, if you're going to be doing security, you're certainly going to need logs. You're going to need to examine them. You're going to need to build alerts based on them. Set something up. It can be a service. You can do it homegrown. I strongly recommend picking a service rather than doing it yourself. And then the final thing that's really good security, doing some things to protect your production environment. Change management, setting up protections around pushing code. It doesn't need to be a huge thing, but if you are doing reviews on the code that runs your product, including, if you use Terraform or something like that to control your infrastructure, you're in good shape and you've got your access control set up with your single sign-on. So there is some additional automation that you can do that you can add an additional tool or vendor if you want to that will help you collect the evidence and will work with your auditing firm and will track your progress. They'll all give you some sample policies and they'll integrate into your various kinds of tools like your cloud provider, your source control, your CI/CD, and maybe even to your HR system, your doc, wherever you all process docs. And it is much nicer, especially if you're trying to run as a very small team, a lot nicer to run using one of these tools rather than trying to run around after your sysadmin and IT people and make them gather you all the screenshots, or having your auditor run around after them. So one note of caution about these are all ones that people have given me positive feedback on. Just FYI, there are a bunch of others, and they may not work for you, but these are the ones that I would try to recommend. However, if you're going to use one of these, I strongly recommend that you either choose an auditor that already has capabilities with the tool that you've bought, or you go with the tool vendor's recommended list of auditors, because they will also have lists of people that they know of who are competent with that tool suite. So I have opinions, as I said at the beginning of the talk. Sorry about the wall of text slide. So I don't try to use the SOC 2 compliance process to build your security program. It's not what it's for. It's compliance. It's not security. There are a lot of things that you're going to want to do as part of a security program that SOC 2 doesn't care about. They're not the same. Make sure that your executives understand what they're doing when they're saying, hey, I need SOC 2. They may not understand that it's going to impose constraints on processes, or that it's going to require that people define processes that's not there yet. And just one warning sign: if any of the executives at your company say, hey, I don't want to learn about security, that's a really bad sign. A really, really, really bad sign. All of the executives do need to understand the security requirements. There are some compliance points that say that they do. And if they don't want to, you're in for a world of hurt. As I said earlier, start with only the common criteria, which is security for your first year. You can add additional things in later years if you want to, but it's really hard once you've told your auditor that you want to do all these things. It's really hard to take some of them back. They don't want you to say, oh, no, well, we're not doing that. Among other things, they may be billing you for all of those things, and they don't want to get into those discussions. But just start with the process first of, hey, we're going to get a compliance certification. Then you can start getting fancy in later years. My final point, there's been a lot of talk about hey, Tanya just gave a talk about security champions, making friends with people in other parts of the org. It's essential. For the compliance parts, as I said, if you don't use one of those tools, you really need to make friends with your SRE and infrastructure and IT teams in order to get the evidence that you need to prove to your auditor that you're doing what you're doing. Okay. So mindfulness, ooh, transition time, tea time. All right, my goal here in the second part of this talk is to talk a bit about what mindfulness is and isn't, and give you a brief introduction to a couple of exercises that have helped me, that I hope will help you relax your body and mind and learn a little bit about where you're tense. Mindfulness has its roots in Hinduism and Buddhism, which I am not an expert in. People have been using it in that context for thousands of years. And to explain all of that rich history would take all of my time today. So I strongly recommend, if you're interested in learning more about the groundings of it, to take some time and do a bit of reading. The European approach to mindfulness, which is how I personally encountered it, is not based in religion for the most part. Although European and American practitioners of Buddhism, especially Zen Buddhism, led the popularization of mindfulness in that secular context. Okay, so what mindfulness isn't? Real talk, existing in the world right now can be pretty stressful between racism, climate change, parking in the city, and that whole pandemic thing. There is a lot going on. Being more mindful isn't actually going to help with any of these major systemic issues or those big problems, but it can help you deal with the tension that's caused by those problems. I put up a quote from Regan Chastain, who has a lot of amazing things to say about body positivity. And it's, be aware of its limitations. It's not a perfect tool that will make everything better for you, but it'll help. Well, it helps me. So what mindfulness is, the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of what we are, where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by those major systemic issues. So InfoSec, it's mostly about thinking, right? We go along typing, looking at screens, mostly we're sitting at our desks. It can be easy, if you don't do something to bring your awareness back, to lose track of what your body is saying. Simple things like, I'm hungry, maybe I should stretch my back, it's getting a bit sore. Mindfulness can help you be more aware of your body. It can also give you some clues to your emotional state. It is often linked to meditation, and it's the first step towards acclimate. That's the wrong talk, sorry. Body awareness. If you're hungry, eating instead of having a stressful conversation is probably going to be a better choice, but you need to know when you're hungry. Being more mindful can help you with that. So to start with, I'm just going to start with a couple of exercises that help me relax. First my muscles and then my brain. So shoulder tension and relaxing. I sometimes find that after a particularly stressful meeting, like when the head of sales says, what do you mean we have 50 things that we need to do to get to SOC 2? They're all important, do them all right now. My shoulders are tensed up and they're higher than normal. This exercise works great to undo that tensing. So first step, start with your shoulders in a neutral position, aka down, not up. Raise them up towards your ears as high as you can. Hold them there for about 5 seconds, and then lower them down back to neutral. And I think if you were seeing how high my shoulders were, I think I actually got them a little bit lower than they were when I started. You might find that your new neutral is a little bit lower and your shoulders feel less tight after you do this. And I advise you do it a few times. And if so, great job. So some breathing. If you've ever done breathing exercises or just sat back, taken a deep breath, you may know that it helps you do a quick reset of your physical and maybe emotional state. So you breathe in for 5 seconds. Optionally, you hold it for a bit, breathe out for 10 seconds. Just do that a few times. And it helps calm, it helps you reset. Some people have mantras that they like to say when they're breathing in and they're breathing out. I personally don't. I just like to feel the air coming into my lungs and then feel it all flowing out of my body. That works really well for me. This next one from the body, I'd like to transition to talking about calming and relaxing the mind. Now, like all of these, your mileage may vary. It may not work for you. I know these things don't work for everybody, but you won't know until you try it, right? This is a visualization that I do when I want to stop myself from thinking about something or worrying about something. The goal for me is not to forcibly stop myself from thinking about the thing, but to add peaceful thoughts and focus on them until they are the only thoughts in my head. So first, you need to identify a peaceful place. Maybe it's somewhere out in nature. Maybe it's a room in a house you've lived in or visited. Maybe it doesn't actually exist, but it's your definition of peaceful. Is it a field, a forest, a hillside, near a lake, near the ocean, your grandma's kitchen, whatever it is? Once you've identified it, you look at what's there. What's the light level? What can you see? Next, listen to what's around you. Are there background noises like trees moving in the breeze or the sound of waves or maybe birds chirping or your cat purring? And now feel what's around you. Are you standing? Are you sitting? Is there a breeze? Can you feel it on your skin? Can you smell anything like flowers or your favorite tea or the smell of an old book? Once you've got that place in your mind, you just sit there for a little while and breathe it in, feel what's there. And then you slowly come back to where you are right now. And you can see what you're seeing now. You can look around you. You can hear whatever's there, and you can feel whatever you're feeling. And once you've found that place in your head, you can go back there and experience what being there feels like in that peaceful place. I really enjoy doing that. You can choose to explore a different place if you want to the next time. But that may not work for you, and that's perfectly reasonable. If so, hey, there are lots of other exercises that you can try. The next one that I want to talk about is rest of tension and then relaxation. For me, it works best when I start in a comfortable sitting position with my feet flat on the floor. And yeah, really feet flat on the floor really does help with feeling grounded. Sometimes I'll do it as I'm lying in bed. That also works if you're like me and you have some trouble with insomnia sometimes. And what you do is first you focus on your feet and you tense them up hard as you can. And you hold it. And you get them tenser if you can. And then you relax your feet. Maybe you wiggle your ankles or something. The next is your calves. You tighten your calves up. You try to tighten every single muscle there. Tighten, 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 tighten. You hold it. And then you relax all of those muscles. And then the next thing that you do is you tighten up your thighs and your butt. And you squeeze that tight as you can. Maybe tighter. Make sure all those muscle groups are tight. And then you relax. The next step is your torso. See if you can tighten. I can't really do this and talk very well, but tighten all those muscles. Tighten your core. If you work out, it'll tell you about your core a lot. Tighten your core. And then once you loosen that up, okay, You move on to your hands, which are sitting in a comfortable resting position, right? Tighten up your hands and forearms, make a fist, squeeze really tight. And then you loosen that up. Next, your upper arms and your shoulders. Maybe you want to put them up towards your head. I don't know, whatever's tension there. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and release it. And finally, your neck and head, which is hard to demonstrate again and talk. But you hold your neck muscles tight. Maybe you're making a horrible face, however that works for you. And then you release it. Okay, now you're done with all of that, and you shake out your body and feel the lack of tension. Feels really good. And some notes around that. I try to do these things a couple times a day, and or before I go into a really stressful meeting or after. And they do seem to help. Some other ideas for relaxing. These are kind of guided meditations that I just went through with you, although now that I've talked about them, you can do them without someone giving you directions. If those don't work for you, some other ways that I've found that are fun to clear your mind are webcams, the Monterey Bay Aquarium. I love all of their live cams. My favorite is the jellies. The otters are also really wonderful. But if you like the idea of someone guiding you through meditations, there are a whole mess of them on YouTube, including ones with profanity, if that's what works for you. Mostly it just makes me giggle though, which is not exactly what we're going for. Side note, if you've heard Samuel L. Jackson reading the book Go the Fuck to Sleep, that is another kind of guided meditation. Also, of course, there is an app for that. The Calm app is good for helping you learn about meditation and guiding you through them. So, all right, now that we've gone over some of the techniques for relaxing your body and mind, there are some other things that you can do with the increased attention to and awareness of your body. When your body is stressed, your muscles will tend to tense up. It's a physiological reaction. Muscle tension is a reflex reaction to stress, both physical and emotional. It's essentially the body's way of guarding against injury and pain. Unfortunately, it doesn't work as well as it did when that reflex was developed. So time to think about maybe revisiting whether that's important or not. So if you notice that your shoulders do tend to tense up after stressful meetings, maybe that's where you carry your frustration and anger. I notice when I'm getting really anxious, I feel it behind my sternum. So if I start, I then start turning it around, thinking about it from the other side. Oh, hey, I'm feeling a ball of something behind my sternum. I'm anxious right now. What am I anxious about? Or, oh my goodness, my shoulders are so tense. You might find that you notice this tension in your body, and then you realize, hey, I'm under more stress or strain than I thought I was, or I'm feeling more emotion than I thought I was. And you can translate those physical sensations like tight shoulders to an awareness that maybe presenting to large groups stresses you out. Yes. Or maybe it's defending your ideas against potential criticism that causes the stress. And you can figure that out, and you can try to address the roots of those things as well. If you're not one to be very in touch with your emotions all the time, having practiced mindfulness, being more aware of your body's state, you can start paying more attention to your body and use your body signals to help you figure out what you're feeling. As I was saying with my anxiety, if I start noticing that, I realize there's something I'm nervous about, and I need to figure out what it is so that I can help myself be less nervous. Okay, so some closing thoughts. If you find yourself in a stressful situation, like you've got an executive who insists on getting SOC 2 in 3 months, and expects you to do all the project management for everyone for SOC 2, and also keep doing all of the security things that you need to do to keep the company safe. Mindfulness is not going to make that go away, but it can help you keep all that stress from getting to you too much. It can help you keep you from taking stress from work into your personal life, which is enormous since we're all in pandemic mode and many of us are not able to physically disengage from our workplace and go to our home place as separate things. And it can't save you from burnout because you haven't improved the causes of burnout, only your reactions to it. But it can help you figure out where you are on that path. And the final note about SOC 2, remember, it's about giving your sales team a tool they can use to sell your product. And it's about compliance and not security. But if you play your cards right, you can get some security in while you're doing it. Thanks, everyone. I'm just going to put up my references slide. And then if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take questions.
What tea are you drinking?
What tea? This tea is a honey oolong from Upton Tea Company. I can drop a link into Slack later. I am a huge fan of tea. I have many, many teas upstairs in my tea canisters. I'm a big fan also of the Zojirushi hot water boilers, so that you will always have water at the right temperature to make your next cup of tea.
One of the challenges for mindfulness, and I think this is something that I see more in our industry than elsewhere. I feel like I'm the only person in our space who doesn't have it. A lot of folks have ADD or ADHD. How do I find my way of exercising mindfulness, right? Like the second I start to meditate, my mind begins to wander.
So I feel unqualified to speak to that since it's not something that I personally deal with. My biggest recommendation is just try a bunch of things. You may find that there's a live stream of something that has sound, that has things for you to look at, that can maybe help, take away some of the, oh, I need more stimulation, tickle at the back of your brain. I'm beyond that. I'm going to need to look into that. It is a really good question, and I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you right now, but I'll think about that some more, and we'll get whoever it was that was asking that, we'll get an answer.
Nobody knows everything. That's part of how we keep our own stress in check, right?
For sure. Yeah.
On SOC 2 compliance, because we are not talking about the SOC, I still apologize for that mix-up at the beginning.
Okay.
How did you first get into it?
Well, basically, I was a security engineer, and I was getting inundated, quite honestly, with requests from my sales team and my sales engineers. And they were saying, hey, I have these questionnaires. I need you to fill out this 50, 100, 200, 300 item questionnaire. And there was one of me, and it was taking me away from keeping the company secure. And I sat down with the sales team, and we all said, how can we solve this? There's only one of Emily. Let's look at this compliance certification and see. We get, as we're customers of other people, they say, hey, here's my SOC 2 report. And you go, oh, okay, they've got, they're at least this high off the bar, right? They passed that bar. Now maybe we would like them to be up here, but at least we know that they're at a minimum there. And so it seemed like I let the sales team drive that process because I wanted them to pay for it. And it was just the best way to have them involved, to have them have some ownership of what was going on. And the company said, yeah, we need to do this to make our sales job easier, and dived in from there.
Yeah, I really liked on that one slide you had that the first reason to do SOC 2 compliance is sales, and the last reason to do SOC 2 compliance is sales.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yep, you really sold it. I warned you beforehand. Dad jokes, track 2. It's what we do here.
There we go.
Any final thoughts that you would like to leave the audience with?
Nothing I can think of other than, hey, oh my gosh, there are going to be some amazing talks coming up. I know the next one up on track 2, Jasmine's going to be talking about difficult lessons in security leadership and low effort crockpot meals. And I am so there for that. So yeah, stick around. It's going to be amazing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us here at PancakesCon.
Thank you, Bryson.